It is human nature to want to be on the winning side of an argument, a fight, or a battle. To win by getting the most stinging insult, the best move, or having the greatest armament. But this is not God's way. And even for the greatest disciples of Jesus, this can be very difficult for us to remember. In our gospel today, we have Peter, the man who walked on water and was given the keys to the kingdom, being called Satan because he could only see with the eyes of humanity and not of God. He saw death as the ultimate defeat. He saw Jesus in military terms. At Gethsemane, the Gospels record Peter lopping off the ear of one of those who came to capture Jesus, and Jesus healing the man. Peter wanted Jesus to be God's general, leading his people out of oppression, wreaking vengeance on the foreign occupying army and those who had conspired with and profited from that occupation. But for Jesus, for God, death is just the beginning. The battle was on the spiritual plane, and victory meant not conquering with a sword, but by transforming the hearts and souls of people around the world from seeking order to seeking justice, from compliance with oppressive systems to harmony, to true harmony amongst all people. Now, no matter who you are and where you rank in the social and economic castes that govern our society, this is not an easy idea to accept. We want to win, but when hearts and minds become shut off by ideologies, when eyes become blinded by allegiance to a cause, there is no winning. Argument does not lead to persuasion, only bitterness. Worse still is to simply insult one another, as is so often the case. Slinging labels at one another, no matter how accurate or appropriate they may be, does not advance the conversation, and it certainly does not transform someone else's thinking. It just shuts things down and makes the partisan divide that much more entrenched. This does not mean that we cannot seek justice, but that we must do so without forgetting the humanity of those who inflict injustice. We must do so without bitterness and without seeking vengeance. As Paul says, beloved, never revenge yourself, but leave room for the wrath of God, for it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord. No, if your enemies are hungry, feed them. If they are thirsty, give them something to drink, for by doing this you will heap burning coals on their head. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. Now I know that in our highly partisan world, the notion of how this could work can be incomprehensible. So I want to give you an example from this past week, from my own life. You see, and I was in a meeting, and one of the other participants made comments that had decidedly racist and sexist undertones regarding me and two of my colleagues. He was frustrated with the lack of immediate response to his needs and was feeling embarrassed by a costly error in his judgment. So he lashed out at us with prejudiced language. Now, if I had been quick on my toes, I could have called out this language for what it was. But as it was, I was so taken aback by what I was hearing that I really could not process the undertones until later, and instead focused on the substance of his complaints. And in reflecting on this, I'm glad that I did have this delayed response to his comments. Because if I had reacted to the undertones, the meeting would have gone nowhere, and the issue that we had met to discuss would have been that much farther from being resolved. There would be no way to move past this first contentious meeting with the current participants. Instead, because I did not react to the undertones, we are able to work together. I was able to refute his assumptions, not by taking them on directly, but by contradicting them through my own actions and repudiation of his arguments rather than the undertones. This does not mean accepting the evil that was present, but rather understanding that taking it on directly would not improve the situation. It also means understanding that it is wrong that anyone has to prove their place at the table, and that even when an individual proves their own qualifications, they are seen as an exception rather than a refutation of stereotypes. But at the same time, it means understanding that vengeance and the transformation of human hearts is the work of God, and we as humans can only do so much. As Christians, we need to fight against oppressive systems, unjust laws, abuses of human rights, the denial of justice and lies, but maintain our love for those who uphold these systems, create these laws, commit these abuses, deny justice, and spread these lies. As Christians, we are called to be blazing with righteousness, but not consumed by hatred. As Christians, we must continue to honor the humanity and the image of God in each and every person, even when that honor is not returned.